Hey everybody, this is Megathrax from Megathrax's Call of Cthulhu. I have come up with a video with a few ideas to help out every single player in order to be able to make characters the easy way without necessarily have to suffer through the character creation. Now, this is not necessarily going to deal with stats, but mostly ideas for you to be able to play whatever character you want to play fairly easy and just simply answering a few questions. So the first question that you should ask when having an idea to create a character would be, what emotion best describes your character? And that is very simple. Pretty much, you would say whether it's anger, whether it is sorrow, whether is your character somebody happy, is your character somebody sad. Um, you know, simply by using that question, you can pretty much play your character from then on. Maybe your character is somebody that got brokenhearted, lost a loved one, whether it is, his wife or her husband, or whatever the case may be. Is your character somebody angry that will be just very upset towards everybody and just lashing out? Somebody that keeps to themselves because they are not happy. That is fairly easy to answer depending on the character you want to play. Then at the same time, you should ask yourself, what emotion does your character evoke in others? Um, Most see your character, whether it is somebody happy, cheerful. Is your character somebody that is always scared that something will happen? Um, I think this question will correlate directly with the first question, as everybody will perceive you most likely at the same time of how you're acting. What does your character need most will be next. So, what do you long for? Let's say, for example, that your character is somebody sad or angry due to the fact that you lost a loved one. So, your character maybe needs love. Your character maybe needs to be understood, or your character maybe just needs that long lost one back. Is a romance? Is it freedom? Is it companionship? Esteem, sense of survival, security? It could be anything, and that will be something that you get to play with. Then after that, I will ask, what is your character's goal in life? So this will be the underlying motivation as to why you will join a campaign, right? So, are you looking for a cure for some sort of sickness you have? Is your goal in life to get married and suddenly your loved one gets kidnapped or dies? Is your goal in life having a good job and all of a sudden that building blows up? You should probably ask yourself, why am I joining that campaign? So what is my goal when it goes to joining and achieving whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve, without necessarily trying to rid the world with maybe some cultist group, but what is in the cards just for your character? Then also you should probably ask yourself, how does your character believe this goal can be accomplished? Because not always it's just as simple as grabbing a gun and going shooting everybody. Sometimes there's different things that will need to be done. So what does your character know, and how does your character think that things get accomplished? For example, if you have a priest, that type of character most likely is not going to believe a lot in the occult. However, most likely is going to think that by praying things can get better. Or if you have somebody that is a skeptical, will believe that they need to see things in order to be true. So therefore, they will think that maybe by grabbing a shotgun and going around and getting rid of the bad guys, that's how things get better. So it really depends on what you're going for. The next question you should ask yourself is, where did your character come from? And that could be the location, um, and that will give you your character's initial roots, right? Why is your character the way he is? Not necessarily as to what happened to your character to become that way as of late, but this will be more so growing up that got your character to be where it is today. Who were your parents? Who was your character as a teenager? Or what was your character like as a teenager? What kind of status your family had? Things like that. When and where did your character grow up? That will make a big difference. It wouldn't be the same thing, a character that grew up, let's say, for example, in New York City, to somebody that grew up in some sort of small town in Kansas, right? So, very, very different, in different ways of seeing life, too. What values does your character hold? Is your character somebody that values life? Is your character somebody that values spirituality? Is your character that values chivalry, right? Let's say, for example, you're investigating and somebody is attacking a lady. Is your character somebody that will say, well, you know what, I feel compelled to go help that lady? Or is your character somebody that's going to be like, well, you know what, she's not part of the mission, so that's not what I'm here to do? And to each their own. What does your character dress like? Or how does your character dress? That's very important. Is your character dressing very provocative, very normal, conservative? Is your in with that, not only necessarily will depend as to your character's mood and personality, but also definitely how everybody else sees you. It's not the same thing of walking around in the 1920s wearing a suit and tie than wearing a full set of chainmail. It's just not going to be the same thing. People are just going to think that you might be a little crazy or that there's something wrong with you. What are your character's means? Consider all your character has. This should include, obviously material sources, money, property, pretty much anything and everything that your character possesses. And we're not necessarily talking about spiritual or knowledge, but we're talking about things, including whatever your character has on him or herself, right? Any kind of thing that could be something of value. What are your character's personal tastes? So, what does your character like? Does your character like alcohol? Does your character smoke? Does your character like certain kind of foods? Dressing in a certain way, certain type of cars, things of that sort. Also, you should probably think about what your character dislikes too, because there's going to be certain things that your character is bound to not enjoy a lot, whether it's seeing, tasting, touching, feeling, etc. What are your character's opinions on many different things? You should probably decide that based on your character's personality. If it's somebody spiritual, your character's probably going to have an opinion as to, and spiritual as religious, right? You're probably going to have an opinion as of nothing's real except for God. If your character is somebody skeptical, then nothing's probably going to be real. If you're somebody that you're open to believe anything, then you're probably going to believe on everything or anything that gives you some sort of proof. Then probably ask yourself, what is your character's comfort zone? What activity or mindset puts your character at ease? And that is regardless if you're going through some traumatic event or if you're just hanging out. All right? What is it that gets you to relax? Is it maybe having a drink? Is it maybe the sense of security of not necessarily being attacked at that moment? Is it maybe being inside of a group with other people and knowing that other people are there to help each other? Also, you should probably ask yourself, who has had the biggest impact in your character's life? Was it your mom, your dad, your grandpa, your uncle, cousins, loved one, anybody? And how has that changed your character? Um, does your character have any quirks? And what are those? You should detail those. Maybe your character is somebody that doesn't like animals, or your character is just not good at math, or is not good at reading, or is not good with languages, or not a good driver, or whatever, whatever that is. That it's also playing into your character's experience through life. You don't necessarily know that you don't like something until you're exposed to that, and then you end up finding out, yeah, I just don't. I'm not a very big fan of that. Then also you should probably ask yourself, what kind of stories does your character belong in? What themes are important? What settings? Under what setting your character inhabits? What kind of conflicts have you faced? Also, ask yourself, what role does your character fill? And this is not necessarily within your life, your character's life, which is totally fine, and within the family. However, it's also going to be important to answer that question within the group. What are you bringing up to the group with that character? Why is that character being created? And there's nothing wrong about creating a character that you just want to play that maybe doesn't necessarily add anything towards the group. There might be a little bit of animosity, once going into a group and realizing that your character doesn't add anything to it. But at the same time, as long as you're not doing anything to prevent anybody else from having fun, you're more than welcome to play whatever character you want. Ask yourself also, what should the other players know about your character? And that's probably something that you will describe once you introduce your character right away. Any kind of features that your character have. Does your character have an accent when talking? Is your character somebody energetic? Is your character somebody that is very mellow, aggressive? Things of that sort. What is your playstyle? And this is more so towards you as a player, because by answering that question, then you will want to answer exactly how you're going to play that character. And you may not necessarily want to play it in the same way as all the other characters, so therefore you may have to put some notes, especially if you're not going to play that character right now in a few days, in order for you to remember as to what was the overall goal of that character that you wanted to achieve. What did you want to have fun doing with that character? And then finally, ask yourself, how does your character want to die? We all know or have an idea or a thought as to how we will prefer to die, whether it's old age, painless, etc. So your character probably should have thought about that at some point, and a noble sacrifice maybe, whatever. And that will be important because during the story, if something happens, your character may or may not be more or less willing to sacrifice himself or to do something for the group, etc. So I'm pretty sure that by asking yourselves all those questions and answering them, you should have an easier time creating a character. Actually, probably you're going to come up with a very good character because it should be quite detailed. In any case, if you guys have any questions or anything to add, please add it to the comments, and I will be more than happy to chime in into whatever I think, or answer any questions. Otherwise, please subscribe, like this video if you can. It's really helpful to the channel, and I will see you on Thursday on the next game. Y'all have a great week.